Hi, we are going to get started on another 10 minutes of SAT Practice Test 5. And let's just get going. This is question 7. The ancient writing system used in the Maya kingdoms of southern Mexico and Central America had a symbol for the number 0. The earliest known example of the symbol dates to more than 2,000 years ago. At that time, almost none of the writing systems elsewhere in the world possessed a 0 symbol. And the use of 0 in Mexico and Central America may be even more ancient. Some historians suggest that Maya mathematicians inherited it from the Olmec civilization, which flourished in the region 2,400 to 3,600 years ago. According to the text, what do some historians suggest about Maya civilization? So we're talking about this number thing, and the Mayas were the ones that were 2,000 years ago, and I'm also seeing that there's this other Olmec civilization, which was even further back than that. So, option A, Maya civilization acquired the use of 0 from the Olmec civilization. I think that might be it, but let's read down. Maya civilization respected its historians more than it respected its mathematicians. Nothing real. There was no judgment in the passage about that. Maya civilization was highly secretive about its intellectual achievements. There was no judgment about that in the text either. Maya civilization tried to introduce its writing system to other civilizations. It doesn't say anything about that in the text either, so it's A. That's it. We're moving on because we want to be time efficient. Ultimately, when you're doing this, you'll read this faster than me. You'll get more than things done in 10 minutes. I'm just reading it so that we can all digest it in the same way. A subject of speculation, distinctive sets of parallel ridges mark the icy crust of Europa, Jupiter's smallest moon. That's the other thing. Don't get caught up on names. Just if you don't get it, that's okay. Researchers now claim that the ridge's formation mechanism mirrors that of a strikingly similar pair of Greenland's ice sheets. There, surface water steepened through fixtures in the sheet and formed a water pocket that subsequently disrupted the overlying ice, forcing fragments of it upward and outward into peaks as the pocket froze and expanded. Although Europa lacks liquid surface water, the same process could be driven by the moon's subsurface ocean. Which choice best states the main idea of the text? So I'm seeing here that there's a planet, and then there's a correlation to the real world, and then there is a judgment, or hey, this could be the case at the end about there might be some water underneath the surface. All right. Researchers think the ridges of Europa and the ridges of Greenland may have been formed by the same process, even though Europa, I don't know, unlike Greenland, doesn't have a liquid water on the surface. That could be it. The primary difference between the ridges of Europa and ridges of Greenland is that, unlike the Europa ridges, Greenland ridges are parallel. Both ridges are parallel, so I would eliminate that option. Option C, the pair of ridges found on Greenland's ice sheet appear to have formed long before recently discovered sets of ridges on Europa formed. It doesn't have anything to do with when. Researchers don't understand why Europa is marked by so many sets of ridges when the moon doesn't have any liquid water on its surface that could have collected and expanded under the icy crust. This one's kind of tricky. I see it. Option A is talking about how researchers think that it's the same process. And in the text, it is saying this is the same process. So we can cross off answer A. That's another thing, like where you can cross things off and you can look deeper into what it's saying. So I would go with option D. I'm checking my work because I don't want to give you the misinformation, but letter D is wrong. I made a mistake, and I do that sometimes, and that's okay. It is actually A, and actually I'm going to click into the explanation of that because I want to tell you the right information. Choice A is the best answer because it accurately states the main idea. It focuses on the formation of the parallel ice ridges on the moon, and it talks about how it has a mechanism that does the same thing, but parallel. Okay. In other words, the main idea of the text is that the parallel ridges in the ice of Europa and Greenland are likely caused by similar processes. Oh, it's less of the idea of like there could be water and more of the idea of just that there's what's called that there's a process. So that's my bad, but let's keep moving. These ones usually take longer. To understand how Paleolithic something artists navigate dark caves, archaeologists M. Angels, there's a long name that I can't pronounce, and her team tested different lighting methods in a cave in Spain using replicas of artifacts found in European caves with art. They used 3 different palisomething light sources: torches, animal fat lamps, and fireplaces, determining that each likely had a specific purpose. For instance, the team learned that the animal fat lamps were less useful than torches while walking around because the lamps didn't illuminate the cave floor. So we have an idea about investigating dark caves, the person who made a test and then made an observation based on one of those tests. So, which choice best states the main idea of the passage? The researcher in her team's study demonstrated that fireplaces were essential to the creators of. Oh, there's also the cave art. That's what I also missed. The researcher in her team's study demonstrated that fireplaces were essential to the creators of the cave art. There's the researcher in her team discovered that the cave artists in Spain used animal fat lamps more often than they used torches. Option C is that the researcher and her team were reluctant to draw many conclusions from their study because of the difficulty they had replicating light sources based on known artifacts. I would cross that one off because they did use 3 examples that were historical. And then finally, the researcher and her team tested light sources and learned some details about how the artist traveled within dark caves. So I would not say that D, wait a minute. Let me look again. See, these are the ones that are tougher. We haven't not gotten through as many questions, but these are the tougher questions. These are the harder ones. In order to understand how artists navigated dark caves. That's the first line of this passage, and that makes a lot of sense for the answer to be letter D, which speaks on how they found out, like how they researched, how they traveled in the dark caves. The other stuff talked about the one talked about fireplaces, and I don't consider that what that is. And it didn't have anything to do with animal lamp, or it wasn't, the animal fat lamps were not more often used because it said in the text that they didn't illuminate the floor. So that is the answer for that. Oh boy, we got a chart. This one takes a lot to work, but unfortunately, we are out of time, which is unfortunate because we only got through a couple questions, but that's okay because I want to make sure you're able to understand it. If you are listening and watching, or just listening in general, and you're like, man, he talks slow, you can always bump the speed up. That's what I like to do when I'm watching YouTube videos of people that talk slow and methodical. I'm trying to be entertaining and not be methodical, but you can always speed it up. So that is going to be it for this, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.